Hello. Well, I'm going to explain you now the characteristics of formal writing, the importance that formal writing has got in technical English, or when you are working in a company, or when you are writing a letter to look for a job, etc. I suppose that you already know that formal writing is important and is an aspect that should be learned reading quite a lot and knowing all the most important details that are implied in formal writing. As I've told you, well, before, formal writing is only used in certain occasions. When we speak English, we can be quite formal, but even when you are formal, when you are speaking, it's not the same than when you are writing. There are some ways of saying thoughts or ideas, and if you express them correctly, they are understood by the listener in the correct way. But if you just explain them in an informal way, they could be misunderstood. So it's quite important to notice what you should do when you write in a formal way, or you're in a formal context. When are you in a formal context? For example, when you're writing a letter to a company, when you are writing a letter or explaining something formal, or you're explaining a research, when you are writing a memo to someone in a company, when you, I mean, many different situations, and then you should use formal writing in English. Also, when you write an email, you should use formal writing if the receiver it's a person that you don't know, or that you are asking for a favor, etc. So remember, it's better to use formal writing when you don't know who is the person who is going to receive an email or a letter, right? Well, which are the important aspects you have to remember? As you can see in the transparency, you have to, first of all, organize, as you can see here, organize your writing. And you have to separate what you're writing, a text, an article, an email, a letter. You have to define the different parts. You have to introduce yourself, you have to explain why you are writing this letter or this writing. You have to ask the question you want to ask, if we are talking about a question or a letter. And well, when it's an article, a research article, you know that there are different parts: an introduction, methodology, results, conclusion, etc. So remember, you have to remember, and you have to organize your writing first. If not, it's not going to be well organized, and it's not going to sound as a formal way of communication. Another aspect you have to consider, as you can see in the transparency, is the use of formal vocabulary. Yeah? You know that when you are speaking English, you can use some words or others, or you just join sentences using so or something like that, but really you are not using some conjunctions which are considered more formal, or you are not using the formal vocabulary. Remember also that there are some formal structures that are more used in English than others. For example, when you say goodbye, you say, I'm looking forward to receiving news from you, right? Or best wishes, or use faithfully, use sincerely, etc. There are formal structures that are used in English to express that you are talking to a person you don't know, and then you want to be formal. Remember that you have to avoid contractions. When you are writing in a formal way, you don't have to contract for example, the auxiliaries. You don't have to say don't, or needn't, or won't. You have to say will not, cannot, etc. Or I've told you, no, I have told you. you have to avoid contractions because that means that you are expressing in a formal way. And then you have to choose the words you need. Don't be too rhetorical and don't say too many words when they are not needed. Right, and here I am proposing you an exercise. And other characteristics that you consider important in formal English, I think all these aspects are quite important, but also I will add that you have to choose the specific vocabulary you need. If you are writing in a business environment, you have to use business vocabulary. If you are writing in a technical environment, then you have to you have to use technical vocabulary, etc. And here you have an example of a text, and in this text, the exercise that you have to underline all the characteristics you consider typical from a formal text, right? For example, here at the beginning, we have here in the beginning the initial part of this structure of the sentence that it's quite formal. In proposing that is quite formal. It's a formal way of communication, and the use of modals, in this case should, is quite formal because that means that you don't dare to say this quite directly. You prefer to say should do this, may. This kind of models are quite preferred in formal English as they denote that you are being quite formal. Look at the vocabulary: subsidize the shipbuilding industry, right? And then you have to refer to other people with Mr., Miss, Mrs., etc. Right, notice the kind of vocabulary is being used. The industry responds to the target sets. Instead of saying answer, they say response. Had been disappointing, so it had produced an increase of only 300%, quite formal with providing numbers because it's a formal writing. That have been forecast. That had been. This forecast is also they are using vocabulary which is quite formal. By the time is a structure that is introducing the sentence and it's also quite formal. Pre-proposal were reviewed in a year's time, etc. Then, as you can see, there are quite ways in which we can transmit that we are formal when we are referring to someone. Well, the benefits of being formal are quite evident. The person reading what you're writing or what you've written before understands that you can use formal writing and informal writing, and that you notice that this is not a friendly situation. So it's very important to transmit that you can use formal writing correctly. Okay? Then remember, practice, and when you are reading a text, notice what's formal in the writing and try to use these structures when you write a formal text. Okay? Well, thank you very much, and that's it.